Welcome back. Let's now take the discussion a notch further. Joining us now on the News at 10 is the former Secretary General of the Nigerian Bar Association, Dele Adesina, who is also a senior advocate of Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining us on the News at 10.
Thank you very much.
So someone once said to me that legal practitioners can't wait for the fireworks to start because events like this puts food on their table. But what's your first reaction to the events at the National Assembly today?
Well, my first reaction was that of a shock. The National Assembly is not a hostile territory. There was no information that there was going to be a threat to law and order or actual breakdown of law and order. And therefore, I think what happened was absolutely unacceptable. And very fortunately, there was a timeous intervention from the highest authority of the land, and that is the acting president, who described the invasion as a violation of constitutional order and the rule of law. I can't use a better language. Now, we're running a constitutional democracy. It is a constitutional democracy because it is founded on a written constitution which spells out the arms of government, the powers of the arms, the limit and the scope of those arms of government. In a democracy, there is no room for absolutism. There is no room for arbitrariness. There is no room for rule of force. There's even no room for self-help. There are so many decided authorities for these points. And having condemned the action, the authority went further to impose a sanction because condemnation wouldn't have been enough, having regard to the gravity of what happened. It goes into the very foundation of our democracy.
It's also interesting you mentioned the position the acting president took and also sacking the boss, the DSS boss. But the question is, who authorized the deployment of the security services?
Well, I will not be able to answer that question affirmatively or positively. But from the law establishing the Department of State Security, Section 3 of that law, subsection 2A, states very categorically that the body is responsible to the president. And the president today is the acting president of Federal Republic of Nigeria and the commander of the armed forces. So the action that was taken by the acting president leaves nobody in any doubt that I, the authorizing authority, did not authorize this action. What
do you foresee the fallout of this relationship between the executive and the legislature in the coming days?
Well, I will only pray that we take a deliberate step to right the wrongs. A lot of things are wrong. The constitution that we operate has created three different, distinct organs of government that are expected to have a symbiotic relationship with each other. I expect that at this point, both the executive and the legislature should recede a little and see democracy as a system that can only thrive under the rule of law, which does not allow arbitrariness, like I said. We have to give priority place to negotiations, to dialogue, to compromises, to discourse. These are the things that make democracy work. And once the executive is ready to dialogue with the legislature, and the legislature is ready to dialogue with the executive, some of these problems can be sorted out on the table without anybody claiming to be superior than the other. No organ is more superior than the other. As a matter of fact, if you ask me which of them is superior out of the three organs, I will tell you the judiciary. Why? The judiciary determines the validity or the legality of any governmental actions based on the Constitution, which has been described as the barometer that determines what is valid and what is invalid.
I'd like to thank you so much for your time, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Dele Adesina.
Thank you very much.
Well, away from the National Assembly and the blockade, the Kogi House of Assembly has declared the seat of the immediate past Speaker of the House, who represents Lokoja 1 constituency, Ahmed Imam, vacant. The seat was declared vacant following the defection of the former Speaker from the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, to the Social Democratic Party, SDP. The Speaker of the House, Mr. Matthew Kolawole, says the House will write to the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, officially on the matter. Imam has already written the State House of Assembly informing it of his defection to another party, citing the crisis in the APC, while the state chairman of the APC, Abdullahi Bello, also wrote to the House to declare the seat vacant since he is no longer a member of the ruling party. The federal government believes that fake news, if left unchecked, has the capacity to undermine the integrity of the 2019 general elections and also threaten the nation's national peace and unity. The Minister of Information and Culture, Mr. Lai Mohammed, made the statement at a conference where the devastating effects of fake news on democracy and national freedom was discussed.
Attending this conference in Abuja are officials of government and members of the civil society organizations. The objective is to discuss the devastating effects of disinformation on the social media and how to combat it. Participants argue that it has become necessary to develop a national guideline for the use of social media in Nigeria, especially as the 2019 general election approaches.
We have developed a number of set of guidelines on these issues, and I think that we need to make sure that we put those guidelines in place before the 2019 elections. I think that we need to set more strict guidelines to ensure that we have an election that we can live up to.
Fake news is capable of negatively influencing public's opinions on candidates during elections. It could affect voter turnout and encourage do-or-die attitudes among politicians.
There is an ongoing global effort to combat fake news on the social media. Several service providers are either introducing new features that will prevent the spread of fake news on their platforms, or they are closing their clients' accounts. There is, however, no strict control on the use of social media in Nigeria. Government agencies that regulate media content censor only the mainstream media, despite huge challenge that social media disinformation poses on national unity.
On the part of the federal government, I want to assure you there will be no censorship, there will be no coercion, but we will appeal to the conscience of each and every one of practitioners. If you see a story, please ask yourself, how credible is it? And please, secondly, don't share unless you believe it is true.
We are not coming out to sanction station just for the sake of sanctions. But this post-truth culture should not come into our industry because it has every capacity, every tendency to destroy the industry.
The federal government has recently launched a campaign which appeals to citizens' conscience and the need to be mindful of what they post on the social media. However, the consensus at this conference is that the government should be more stringent, strike a balance between press freedom and sanction promoters of fake news.
Medview Airlines has commenced the airlift of intending pilgrims from Kaduna State, with 313 making the inaugural flight. A total of 1,600 pilgrims from Kaduna are to be airlifted from the state, with an initial 600 on the first and second flights to Prince Abdulaziz International Airport in Medina.
Intending pilgrims to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for this year's Hajj, as Medview Airline begins the airlift of its quota from Kaduna State. With the requisite screening jointly conducted by relevant authorities, including officials of the Kaduna State Muslim Pilgrims Welfare Board and the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria over, passengers make their way into the airline's newly acquired Boeing 777 aircraft.
Well, I appreciate the treatment given to us, and if given the opportunity again, I think I will fly Medview again.
The carrier believes the comfort and convenience of these passengers is key and promises to improve on its services.
We're not new to Kaduna. We were here last year. we had quite a few flights with the 767 last year. So this year we're introducing a new aircraft, as you can see behind me, the Boeing 777, which is a new addition to Medview's fleet.
The overseer of the Kaduna State Muslim Welfare Board commends Medview Airline for its consistency in the airlift of pilgrims over the years.
And today, inshallah, Medview is carrying 313 intending pilgrims from Kaduna State, and subsequently it will carry the remaining. It will have not less than 1,600 pilgrims also to carry from Kaduna State to the Holy Land. And alhamdulillah, Kaduna State government, the Kaduna State Muslim Pilgrims Welfare Board and National Hajj Commission are doing their best to see that the airlift of the intending pilgrims is hitch-free, inshallah.
Medview Airline is expected to airlift about 10,000 Nigerian pilgrims from about 5 states.
Well, let's join Anne Nwaldo, who has today's business stories.
You First. First Bank.
Thanks a lot, Millicent. The Director General of the Bureau for Public Procurement, Maman Ahmadu, has said that he is confident that the collaboration with agencies like Federal Inland Revenue Service and the Corporate Affairs Commission will help check cases of procurement fraud across the country. At a meeting with heads of procurement from ministries, departments and agencies in Abuja, Mr. Ahmadu revealed recent initiatives by the BPP to ensure rules are adhered to. Activities at the local equities market have remained bearish for a second day in the week following profit-taking in some stocks. Chimezia Biwagu has the details for us.
Thank you for joining us on Stock Market Report. The equities market fell further into the red today as the all-share index went down by 0.40%. The oil and gas sector was a major drag. That sector lost 4.69%, no thanks to the 8.45% loss by Seplat. Also, the banking sector supported the market loss owing to the drop on the share price of GT Bank. However, it's also noteworthy that Konoil, which was placed on technical suspension on Monday due to the late filing of its first half result, posted an impressive half-year earnings today. In all, transaction value was just about 2 billion naira, almost unchanged from Monday's figure. Transaction volume closed at 248 million units. With political uncertainty still driving volatility in the market, traders and investors are only keeping their fingers crossed, hoping for better deals soon. And that was the Stock Market Report. I'm Chimezie Obi Iwago.
Thanks a lot, Chimeze. Tier 1 lender, First Bank of Nigeria, says it has redeemed its 300 million 8.25% subordinated bonds due to mature by August 2020. In a statement signed by its Group Managing Director, Mr. Adeshola Adedutan, payment for the notes earlier issued to investors in 2013 was made to all bondholders without any impact to the company's capital ratio, which of course shows the strength of the bank's foreign currency liquidity, the resilience of its balance sheet, its ability to meet foreign and local currency funding needs, and maintain sufficient market access to raise additional funds. According to the lender, it's unlikely to reissue debt in Eurobond markets in the near term. First Bank says that it has remained focused on delivering on its strategic objectives, and it will continue to improve its asset quality and risk management, as well as enhance revenue generation. And that's it on Business News for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Nwaldo. Back to you, Millicent.
You First. First Bank.
Thank you, Anne. Still ahead on the news at 10, former athletics world champion Ato Bolden believes Nigeria has talents yet to be tapped. That's in sports news. Please stay with us.